Respected Member Secretary of IGNC, Dr. Sachidananda Joshi, respected Director of National Mission for Manuscripts, Professor Pratapanand Jha, respected Speaker of the Day, Dr. Nandini Bhattacharya, respected Chairperson of this session, Professor Ajay Patnaik, and all the scholars, participants who are attending to this virtual program of National Mission for Manuscripts. I welcome you all. India has immense treasure of manuscripts which encompasses knowledge in every field: philosophy, science, medicine, literature, art, music, politics, and many others. Hence, it can boast of its rich heritage. National Mission for Manuscripts was established by the Ministry of Culture, Government of India, with the objectives of: Number one, locating all the invaluable manuscripts all over India. Number two, documenting them for national record. Number three, conserving them so that they are not destroyed. Number four, digitizing those manuscripts in order to create an e-library for the interested researchers. And number five, the publishing them in order to disseminate the knowledge contained therein. For wider outreach, the mission organizes lectures, seminars, and workshops for students and interested people. Tattvabodha lecture of the mission is one of such outreach programs where eminent scholars deliver their views related to Indology, and these lectures are published under Tattvabodha series. Today's topic of Tattvabodha lecture is tracing the trail of Indo Tajik relations through the lenses of culture. We all know that Tajiks are a Persian-speaking Iranian ethnic group native to Central Asia, living primarily in Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Afghanistan. Today, Dr. Nandini Bhattacharya will enrich us on the Indo Tajik culture, how and where they had influenced each other. Dr. Nandini Bhattacharya, the speaker of today's Tattvabodha lecture, is an associate professor at the Department of History, Calcutta Girls College in Kolkata. She received the degree of Doctor of Philosophy from Jadavpur University, Kolkata, and her dissertation was published as a book titled Dueling Isms: Soviet and Regional Culture, including painting, musicology, films, religion, and gender issues, have been published in well-acclaimed volumes and encyclopedias. Some of her research articles had featured in journals from India and abroad, that is Asian Studies, Kalpakala, Contemporary Central Asia, Jadavpur Journal of History, Jadavpur Journal of International Relations and Education about Asia. As an expert of Tajikistan, she has presented papers in a number of national and international academic platforms. I am honored to introduce the chairperson, Dr. Ajay Patnaik. Retired recently as professor in the Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies and was the Dean, School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU. He has authored 4 books: Central Asia, Geopolitics, Security and Stability, Routledge 2016 published. Second one, Nations, Minorities and States in Central Asia. Third, Central Asia Between Modernity and Tradition, and Perestroika and Women Labor Force in Soviet Central Asia. His other works include 8 edited and co-edited volumes. He has worked on the issues of nationality, ethnicity, urbanization, and migration, gender roles, stability, and security in the Central Asia and Eurasia region. His latest research interests include globalization and resistance, a study of the nature and forms of protests in Central Asia, and BRICS, an alternative vision of trans-regional cooperation from the global south. A PhD from JNU, Professor Patnaik was visiting scholar in the Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, University of Cambridge, UK, ICCR Exchange Scholar at the Institute of Ethnography, Moscow, and at the Institute of Oriental Studies, Moscow, and visiting Solanki Professor and Scholar in Residence at Yadunandan Center for Indian Studies, California State University. Professor Patnaik has also been a visiting faculty at the Faculty of International Studies, Eurasian National University, Astana, Faculty of Oriental Studies, and Faculty of International Relations in Al-Farabi Kazakh National University, Almaty. He is a member on the editorial board of several national and international journals. He was also the executive editor of the journal Contemporary Central Asia. I am now handing over the session to Professor Patnaik, the chairperson of today's Tattvabodha lecture. Sir, please take over. Now it is yours.
Thank you, Sanghumitra ji. It gives me great pleasure in presiding over this lecture by Nandini. She is a good scholar of Central Asia. She has done very good work on Central Asia, visited the field, the area, and written on it. I'm so happy that she is speaking on this theme today, because she is also teaching in Kolkata in history. And this is coming back to the discipline where, which interests us here. She has also taken initiative to form a historians group called Dastan, where she was kind enough in the group to make me the president of that group. And once I spoke on travel in the Silk Road states. So this is a great occasion for her to present her knowledge and research in this area. As the chairperson announced, there will be no question answer session. There will be no discussion. You can send it by mail to Nandini or myself, and we can answer in our best possible way. So I would, reserve my comments at the end of the lecture. I will have something to say because I know this area well. But I have to say something about the National Manuscript Mission. You see, I mean, my contact with this institute goes back to, I think, 2008, when you had someone who was head, I think, he was from Hyderabad, I'm forgetting his name, and we were together in Turkmenistan. So there, he told me about this institute and how much work they've been doing. So that is how National Manuscript Mission came to my radar. Though it's a great thing. It's a great thing that manuscripts, have to be preserved, had to be made public, had to be easily accessible to larger population, larger audience. And digitizing it's great. So I congratulate Sanghumitra ji, Dr. Basu, who is involved in those kind of things. I wish her all the best. And I request now Nandini Dr. Nandini to speak.
Thank you, sir. It is a great privilege to have you as chair for this lecture that I have been invited so kindly by Sanghumitra Di. My, heartfelt gratitude goes to National Mission for Manuscripts. The serious work they do. My journey also began with National Mission for Manuscripts. In 2017 we could hold an international seminar on the banner of this institute in our small college in Kolkata, and the book has also been published out of that work, and a large credit of it goes to Sanghumitra Di and her dynamism for this. Anyway, I'm really glad to be here today to share a part of my research work on a land not so publicized, or rather sometimes confused, or rather, shelved under different types of umbrella identities, sometimes Soviet, sometimes Central Asian, sometimes maybe, Islamic, but to take out Tajikistan as a pocket from within Central Asian, regional identity, and look at it as a Persian center for Persianate culture that it preserved and continues, and the linkages it had developed and maintained ever since the antiquity, even before the dawn of, the beginning of use of languages and all, will be a great, journey for me. I don't know how much I will be able to make justice of this huge arena within this limited period of time, but it is a humble attempt on my part. Thank you, and now I go for the PowerPoint sharing. I hope the slide is visible.
Absolutely visible.
Thank you, sir. So I began with a map of this land. As of now, it stands as a nation state. After the demise of the Soviet Union, the Tajik Republic as it stands today. The cultural linkages between India, the largest South Asian country, and Tajikistan, the smallest of all Central Asian states, was part of a much larger socio-cultural symbiosis. Interestingly enough, Tajikistan, which presently holds just a small segment of this large unbound cultural space of Central Asia, can still lay claim to an astonishingly rich collection of history and heritage, either directly linked or strangely similar to those of India. However, culture can hardly ever conform to political boundaries. And when looking back to the past, political boundaries also had been fluid and flexible to accommodate constant cultural amalgamation. This is the other map to show the geographical proximity of Tajikistan to India. And when looking back to the past, political boundaries also had been fluid and flexible to accommodate constant cultural amalgamation. Central Asia, being an extremely active cultural cauldron throughout the passage of history, had accommodated a number of common features shared by various people, presently divided into distinctive political entities. In fact, all the 5 successor states of Central Asia share huge cultural commonalities. However, culture began to serve as a very active and effective component of national identity and heritage once Central Asian states became independent following the decline of the Soviet power. For a land like Tajikistan, facing acute economic distress and endless political challenges, culture appeared as an active component of identity and an effective force of integration. Thus, for Tajikistan, culture became its major vehicle to address national unity and social harmony. And in this context, its links with India as a great ancient civilization was acknowledged as a proud cultural heritage for the land and the people. This easternmost republic of Central Asia, being the closest Central Asian neighbor of India, portrays an extremely rich and diverse form of a composite culture, where the input of Indian culture is visibly strong. The earliest traces of exchanges between Indian subcontinent and this geographical region can go far back to 3rd or 2nd millennium BCE. Ever since or even before the Indus Valley civilization era. However, In spite of this proximity and interactions in various phases, the first, political contiguity came along the Kushana era from the 1st century CE. The most significant and long-lasting effect of this era lies with the onset of Silk Route. It was the most exciting link between the two regions that provided a permanent mode of communication for the passage of commerce, religion, and culture. Silk Road was at the same time the facilitator, benefactor, and witness of the saga of an ever-growing, never-ending proliferation of a common cultural bonding between India and Central Asia. The glorious beginning of Silk Route was also associated with the pious footsteps of Buddhism in this region. Buddhism, especially the Mahayana trend, took off under the aegis of Emperor Kanishka I, which had its all-round impact in these areas. Archaeological excavations in and around different parts of Central Asia could trace ruins of many monasteries, along with shrines of Gautama Buddha and many other related sculptures. This image of Buddha you see in the screen in Nirvana posture is restored from the monastery of Ajina Tepe, situated in southwestern part of present-day Tajikistan. And it was a sensational news from the time it was discovered under the Soviet period, but it was restored in the museum in the post-Soviet era. This is the largest surviving image of Buddha in Central Asia today, after the tragic destruction of the Bamiyan Buddhas in Afghanistan. Now, this saga of Silk Route, continues even after the Kushana era, and this cultural interaction only accelerated with the advent of the Arab, Persian, and Turco-Mongol regimes. Along with warfare techniques and commercial ventures, along with the advent of Islam, they brought substantive cultural traits that India could absorb, internalize, and preserve. Starting from the language of the court, that is Persian, the food habits, the costumes, music, in practice, everything had undergone a great exchange during this period of time. However, with the advent of the Western powers on both the regions, it had undergone a certain transformation of trajectories. British colonial rule in India and expansion of Russian Empire, followed by the Soviet socialist experiments, had somewhat suppressed the spontaneous flow of cultural dialogue between the two different culture zones. Yet, ever since the independence of India, the region had been reconnected with India as part of Indo-Soviet friendship. And to take up this retrospective journey from this particular period that we commonly use the blanket under the blanket term modern era, we find the takeoff point with the Hindi cinema, commonly known as the Bollywood. It is the most popular window towards Indian culture for the Tajik people along the entire Soviet population of the time. And it's still, this connection, this emotional connectivity even continues in the post-Soviet era very much. There had been a lot of research on the role of Bollywood. Sudha Rajagopalan's work on this, Bollywood mania and the Soviet, people's trained towards movie watching. All these had been researched a lot. What I would try to highlight here is how in the post-Soviet genre, some of this Bollywood craze had manifested in internalization and in various kinds of creative, musical or musical expression, or even in the making of films. And actually, you have to mention the at least some two of the iconic figures who loom large in the canvas of Tajik mindscape, from the Soviet to post-Soviet, as the glorious journey of Bollywood started with Raj Kapoor and his grand success of Awara. This remains kind of immortal experiences, and in the country of its creation, the memory began to fade out. But in Tajikistan, you find the notion of Awara had been internalized to the extent of recreating a new film called Ovara, with a theme which is very contemporary. I would show you the video clips very soon. The theme is about the immigrant laborers who were almost forced to leave their homeland, and their children live in the villages without parents, with the old, aging grandparents. And the other actor who could at least come close to Raj Kapoor in terms of popularity, arousing mass hysteria, is Mithun Chakraborty, for his one single blockbuster, that is Disco Dancer. And this Disco Dancer and the hero of Disco Dancer, Jimmy, Mithun in the, acting in that role of Jimmy, that has almost created a new social category in Tajikistan, who are, singers, who kind of street singers, and they live by singing and depending on the small doles they get from the society. I would share two videos now. One is from this film Ovara, made by a very unique duo, mother-son duo, Gulamdam Mohabbatova and Daler Rakhmatov. And the other thing is about Jimmy, one of the Jimmys who got a twist of luck and had been reinstated almost like an artist, who actually was an immigrant laborer from Tajikistan. And now, if I have to show the video, I have to go for new share, or I first escape and then minimize this. Well, and
you need to minimize that one.
I have minimized. Didn't it minimize?
No, ma'am.
It is not showing minimized?
No, ma'am.
No. Then
Press window D.
Oh yes, I go for this window D.
No, ma'am.
Yes, and what to do? Yeah. I play share, and then I play the thing, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I again back to where I was? I knew this was going to happen. I put this window D, and then I go for a new share.
No, ma'am.
Yes. Then this is only coming. Is it being shared?
Yeah, it is shared.
So what do? I go to window D again?
Press window D.
Yes. Then I get back to my
আসছে মনে হয়
আসছে?
হ্যাঁ
ব্ল্যাক হয়ে গেছে, ওটা চলে গেছে।
প্লে করলে
Again
আসবে।
it has come.
তুমি আবার
এবারে
ট্রাই
কি
করো
এসছে?
না
Did
Back to
the
square one.
PowerPoint come back?
না না চলে গেছে তো আবার
আবার ওই আগের স্ক্রিন এসে গেছে, বলিউড।
Oh.
হ্যাঁ এখানে এসে
Now
Okay,
it will
okay.
come.
ওইটাই চাই। That is what I want. Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
না আবার
তাহলে
Again it has come.
the video came earlier. The video was
Now only black screen came.
Oh, video did not come.
না তুমি প্লে করতে হবে নাকি
Oh, I played actually, sir. But anyway, then I'm trying again. I minimize this.
নো প্রবলেম
This is the tricky thing. And
Dr. Abhijit, can you guide her?
I can play, but I'm not getting the what is the video. That means there are so
Can
many
it be
videos,
seen?
na?
yes,
তুমি ভিডিওর নাম বলো ও প্লে করে দিবে অভিজিৎ
okay.
তুমি কিটা নামটা
Over 14 over the title of the video is that.
Over 14 over.
Then I do stop share, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay.
রিটায়ারমেন্টের আগে তুমি শিখে যাবে সবকিছু আমি কিন্তু পুরো শিখতে পারলাম না শেষ
Now
হয়ে
it
গেল।
has come.
आवारा या गर्दिश में हो आसमान का तारा हूँ आवारा आवारा या गर्दिश में हो आसमान का तारा हूँ आवारा
Please stop it now. Thank you. Thank you. Abhijit.
It is better Dr. Abhijit will play. You give the
Yes,
name.
yes. This is a better process. Thank you. So I get back to my PPT again.
Yeah.
Can you see the PPT?
No.
Why?
আবার ওই ডিলিট ডি না কি করতে হবে
Window D.
উইন্ডো ডি
Now I can see my PowerPoint out here
হুম
and I'm
একটু
sharing, but it's not coming.
has started screen sharing you have started but it's
It
not
is
come.
coming, has started screen sharing. Maybe it is coming. And Dr. Abhijit, what is your...
Actually, there is an icon that says your screen sharing is paused. I can't do anything.
You can share, ma'am. You are
Now I can share.
Yes.
My God. I think this is the one I want to share.
হ্যাঁ
Yes, now it comes.
Has come? Okay. Thankfully. So, you have just seen the appeal of Raj Kapoor going on, even with the turn of the century. And now again, I would get back to Abhijit. That is about this song "Jimmy Jimmy Aja Aja," sung by an immigrant labor from Farghana Valley. His name is Baimurat Alabariev, but now he is known everywhere in the post-Soviet world as Tajik Jimmy. How it has been, his first video has been taken in a very informal manner with a mobile phone. but it went viral, and then he had been taken and as an artist, folk artist, and had performed in many places without any formal training. I stopped sharing. Will you show it, Abhijit, again? Tajik Jimmy is the title of the video.
Jimmy, Jimmy, acha, 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 Jimmy, 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 acha, 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 acha romiritam, gita, gita, giram, gita re kojugum, ona re koposhum, taranam, naranam, diddling, diddling, naranam, naranam, diddling, diddling, diddling,
Okay, you can stop it now. Thank you. So should I get back to screen share again? Yes. PowerPoint slide. So next to this, I would say that this is not this self-trained Jimmys who are the only messengers of Bollywood melodies in Tajikistan. The attraction of these Hindi songs are undeniable for the well-trained singers from Tajikistan as well. Thus, the rising pop star Nozia Karamutullu, daughter of a well-known singer Karamutullu Kurbon, also ventured through a number of Hindi film songs. In fact, she belongs to this post-Soviet generation who, under the aegis of India government, could come to India with ICCR scholarship, take training in Indian music and dance, and equip herself, along with her, well-trained Tajik, background, Tajik musical background. Now it is Nozia. You have to play kindly, Abhijit. I am stopping my share. Thank you very much. So I get back to my point again. So, one must reckon with the fact that a rare talent like Nozia could not have risen out of nothing. It brews in the air of Dushanbe to learn in Indian musical trades in order to make possible inroads to Bollywood films. An Indian embassy there offers courses in Kathak dance, classical vocal and tabla. There are more than 100 students enrolled for the courses, of whom there are real talented aspirants. And I remember while interviewing Nozia, her first sentence was, "Main to aadha Hindustani hoon." So these emotional linkages also has to be reckoned with. And a little sad, I feel a little sad about this, is that the knowledge about these, fandom and madness about India and its culture does not percolate the Indian knowledge as such, common knowledge. It remains as part of our research work, rather. It is not a very common, popular understanding. In common popular understanding, these people not yet to be featured, which I think would happen in the later times. In fact, if we go beyond Bollywood, itself. There was a very well-known club of filmmakers in Dushanbe who created a Satyajit Ray fan club, and Davlat Khudonazar, the founder of this club, had visited India all alone just to meet Satyajit Ray, his Ustad, after being, after seeing Pather Pachali. Such mesmerizing was his experience. And Jamshed Usmanov, one of the recent film directors who is placed in France now, he, in his first debutant film, Flight of a Bee, Parvezi Zanbur, had used Robindra Songit taken from Charulata, being a fan of Satyajit Ray. And this is how, music travels. I would rather skip a little, and if time permits, we will share some of the videos of dances, which remains an uncharted field for academic, understanding about cultural interaction, but has enormous scope over there. However, now we would go into the musical inheritance both the lands have in common, especially if we look into the musical instruments as icons of history. To mention some of the string instruments like sitor, dutor, tanbur or sato, chang, rubab or gijak, some of the instruments used both in folk as well as classical musical renditions in this land, Tajikistan. They have, kind of replicas or semi-replicas of them in almost similar or sometimes distinct other names available in India. For the constraint of time, I would only share with you the Pamiri Sito rendition by Iqbal Gurminj, after whose father's name there is a museum of musical instruments in Dushanbe. I stop share, and Obijit, would you please share this sitar recital?
Sure, ma'am.
Is it available with you?
Yes, ma'am. Let me.
Please do kindly. I must explain, this is a different video that I actually wanted to skip, but this form of dance I wanted to show because this has a very strange similarity with Kathak. And the dancer is Samira Sitora, daughter of a very well-known dancer, Malika Kalantarova, who got the People's Artist Award in Tajikistan. They belong to a Jewish origin actually. Samira also got trained in India for dance for quite a long time, but now placed in USA. Anyway, maybe the sitar lies with me. I'm sorry I could not share with you, but it is a wonderful rendition that is reminding us of the fact that Badakshani sitar is considered a folk instrument, regional folk instrument, while in India the common perception is sitar is a synthetic instrument, largely created with the contribution of Amir Khusru DLP. Lot of scope for research and more, investigation lies over there. Is the sharing happening? Yeah, you just can see the little snippet of this person. He is Iqbal Gurmench actually. But even if I play, it won't be sound, you cannot hear it. So from music now, I would rather get back to the sphere of literature, and especially the platform that I am sharing today, National Mission for Manuscripts. It demands some discussion about literature. And as we go back, as at the very beginning, it has been mentioned repeatedly by the host of NMM as well as the chair, that Tajikistan is a country whose vernacular is Persian. So that gives a lot of, advantage for this country to have access to the code of Persian literature. And over time, they can have access to the world-class literature of Persian of a time when there was no, geographical boundary to language, at least this language, because Persian was the official language of so many, empires, Islamic empires of that time. And from that time, the translation of Sanskrit literature began into Persian, and Ramayana and Mahabharata had been translated in the Indian courts, we all know. And following that trade, we can see that, under the Oriental Studies Institute in Soviet, during the Soviet regime, you find the same mode of translation work going on. And that is why in Tajikistan, you will find in most of the most intellectual people have a piece of Mahabharata and Ramayana translated either in Russian language or in Tajik in their personal collection, and they are very well, well aware about India's literary hoard and its tradition. However, to this, study of Indian language and translation work is still going on. Here you can see this person with the bouquet, flower bouquet, Professor Raja Bov and Professor Zarina here, who are continuously, tirelessly going on doing translation work from Rabindranath, Premchand, Mahadevi Varma, and so on in Tajik State University. Here it is the day of Gandhi Jayanti being observed in Dushanbe actually. They are also teaching in the Indian embassy Hindi language to the students who are aspiring to come to India. However, if we go back slightly, into the more remote past, when Persian was the vehicle of, vehicle of dialogue, you will find that there had been a lot of interactions, and the translation work I have already mentioned had been the trend, and that trend is still on in that country, in spite of all ups and downs and changes that it had gone through. I would mention here only two great poets and how their writings had been, adopted into musical renditions by great, great thinkers and, great experts of Tajikistan in the Soviet era. One is Hafiz's famous poem, Agar un Turki Shirozi Bedast or Dile Moro Bikhole Hinduash Baksham Samarkandu Bikororo, where actually he even wanted to trade off Samarkand and Bukhara for a Hindu mole. The placing of the mole is a bit, controversial. Some says it is in the forehead, some says it is in the cheek, but probably they meant this, bindi we wear, which is specific of Hindustan. This song you will find going into the rendition of Shashmakam, which is the classical musical tradition of Tajik Uzbek people of this land, and it is immortalized and all once again known to all, and it resonates in the memory and in the emotional lingering of these people, because Samarkand and Bukhara went to Uzbekistan after the segregation was created by the Soviet people. And the other is creation by Bedil, Abdul Qadir Bedil, who is a Sufi poet whose grave is in Delhi near Purana Kila, and his creation immortalized this Komdeva Madan. This is a ballad which narrates a love story situated in the Bukharan court, where the singer is a Tajik man and the dancer Komde is Indian. And this had been adopted as a, as the first Tajik opera experiment, where Shashmakam had been represented to the Western world by a great, musician of Tajikistan named Ziaudullah Shahidi. But Shahidi had a, kind of a dream to have the role of Komde being played by an Indian dancer, which could not be done during that point of time. And not yet this dream has been realized. His daughter, Dr. Munira Shahidi, is still chasing this dream and trying to make this happen. The role of Komde being played by an Indian dancer. That is what, Shahidi had planned. Now, quickly, can you show one after the other music videos, Abhijit? I'm stopping my sharing.
Which one? You give the name.
One is Shashmakam. The other will be the same name, Komde and Madan.
Dr. Abhijit, are you there? Dr. Abhijit?
1 second.
Hello?
Yes,
Dr. Abhijit, can you do this?
Yes, ma'am. Let me put. Please stop.
One is Komde and Madan.
Stop sharing. You stop the sharing.
And the other name is like this, this TS_01, it will be like that. So should I stop my sharing?
Yes, you have to.
be then the next one where the Shashmakam singers will be singing this Hafiz's poem, Agar Untur Kishirozi. That's it. Thank you so much. I go for screen share again. Sharing has come. So I am entirely at the last lap of my presentation, where I would, stop by sharing the experience of Mirza Tursunzoda, who was a Soviet-era poet and was a friend and neighbor of this musician Ziaudullah Shahidi. Tursunzoda could visit India. Actually, Ziaudullah Shahidi could never step out of the Soviet boundaries because his father, because of the suspicion of the Stalinist era, had ended up with the Gulag, and he was never allowed to go out. But Tursunzoda was luckier. He could come to India. He visited India just before the independence in March 1947, and even afterwards. And Tursunzoda's experience in India made him write more than 30 poems on India, of which some of them are extremely, emotionally churning. Indian ballad is kind of a combination of Hafiz, Bedil, and Tursunzoda's own encounter with a dancing, dance performer named Tara Chanderi. I am yet to trace her historical presence in this part of, in our part of the resources. But anyway, and there is poem about Tara Chanderi itself dedicated to her. And the third one, which I would share with you, here in this slide, you can see Tursunzoda meeting Indira Gandhi. And this is a carpet which is showing his bust. This is a poem on River Ganga. This is a very long poem, I have just made a small excerpt from it. This is my translation, because Gang is yet to be translated in English. You find its Russian version and the Persian version. And as you can see, this Soviet metamorphosis of the early post-World War genre, you can see resonating in the expression of this poet. Embedded in this socialist thought, he has a voice of protest that he is kind of invoking in River Ganga. He is saying, why are you so silent? Why do you take all the repression in silence? Why don't you roar? Why don't you protest? But anyway, though embedded in socialist thought, committed to the cause of worker peasants world, Turson's, on the had his retrospective gaze directed towards the Oriental heritage commonly shared by the South and Central Asia in the bygone centuries. So thus, we see that the flow of culture and interaction and the dialogue went on through the course of different political genres and epochs coming and changing. The multidimensional reciprocation between the two regions had proved to be extremely vibrant and resourceful as one moves step by step into the unfamiliar allays of the remote past. In fact, it was a continuous process of cultural communication through endless waves of historical contacts that created a large shared space of material and emotional belongingness. The course of culture has its own strength to survive and transmit through the diverse channels. There remains enormous scope in the realm of literature, music, visual art, architecture, film, craft, culinary, and textiles to revive and rejuvenate Indo Tajik cultural interaction to create a new space for harmony and fusion. This would not only reinstate the pace of long neglected civilizational accord, but would also facilitate interstate understanding and might well have positive manifestation towards the world peace process. Indo-Tajik cultural harmony carries immense prospects to manifest tolerance and cultural coexistence. If attained, this can go down in history as an example of human preference for creativity rather than destruction, harmony rather than hatred, and peace rather than discord. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Nandini. It was a beautiful presentation with so many interesting videos in between. I mean, those presentations actually make us better understand, how close we are, You see, she has talked about food, dress, musical instrument, language, all these connectivities that were there since historical times. In Tajikistan, you will find women wearing salwar kameez, so many commonalities. It's a small country. Because of my students here, I have to say something. It's a very small country. 93% of the country is mountainous. Only 7% is plain. So there will be a lot of culture related to mountain. And some differences with the valley culture, which is visible even in this small country. You go to parts of Tajikistan, which is Badakhshan, on the Afghan border, which is in the Pamir mountainous region. If you go to the Pamirs, culture is so different. In Pamir, you will find that there are groups which in both sides of the border, they stay there, sort of Ahmadiyas, Ismailis. They're Ismailis. Their leader is Aga Khan, who is doing, that foundation is doing a lot of work in those regions. So they are Ismailis who are not liked by the Orthodox, but all over the world you'll find Ismailis, they have migrated, they're doing well and settled there. You have in Pamir Mountains a strong legacy and continuation of the Zoroastrian culture. Zoroastrianism was the ruling religion in this whole region, from Iran to Central Asia. So you'll find even if they are Muslims, in their various festivals, you'll find the use of fire. The use of fire worshipping, still maintained in some form during, in their rituals, marriage and birth rituals. Fire is an important element. In Pamir, they have different culture. When a man meets another man, I mean, they're friends, they kiss on the mouth, not on the cheek. Like people, they hug each other, give a peck on the cheek, they give a peck on the lip. And there you will find a community in Pamis which looks so different, with blue eyes and different kind of white, color. I asked, who are these people? They were the people who were brought, with Alexander the Great. And because there was a Greco-Bactrian kingdom and all that, so many settled there and had their families. And because Pamir was cut off for a long, long time, and these people didn't mix with others, they look different. And it's very different in that region. You are walking another woman on the other side of the road, they will wait, stop, bow to you, just to say hello. On the other side, you don't know them. So it's a different culture there. There are, of course, in a small country, there are north-south differences in culture. The north is part of Fargana Valley, closer to Uzbek border. So there are other influences working there. So it's so typical of any country that you go certain distance, the culture will have different elements, new elements or different elements. Sometimes we are swayed by how close we are in food and all that things. I'll tell you briefly my experience. All my friends, because Tajikistan I have such good friends who are professors, that I never stay in any hotel or anywhere. I stay in their homes. They never let me stay outside. So I'm close. Once these two professors came to JNU, their wives were also there. They came to my house to cook pilau, the biryani. So I said, I'll buy meat, I'll have oil, what kind of oil, how much oil. They said, no, we have got our rice, we have got our meat in oil, so you give us more oil. I said, how much? So I had full 1 liter of oil. After using that, they were still asking. I saw the whole process. They fried the rice first, onion next, meat next. That is how they cook. So I didn't eat. And my son and wife, they were very excited. Oh, finally the food has arrived. And they started eating. After some time, my son whispered, Papa, I'm feeling uneasy. There's so much of oil. I said, you didn't wait. You should have asked me. I am not eating. And I told my professor friends, and anytime I visit to these countries, they tell their family, don't cook this biryani for him. So I have soup and other things. So avoid many things which looks like Indian, but not to our tastes. Because food habit ultimately develops out of climatic conditions. I mean, there are mountainous countries, very winter, like in Kashmir, a lot of oil is used, fat is used. So we have to be very careful about these things. But only 2 countries I have found which is much similarity. Nandini also knows, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. And Uzbekistan, because it had that Persian heritage. Even when Babur came from today's Uzbekistan, but he brought Persian language to his court, to his literature, everything. And we have common like Firdows, Bedil. These are common poets in both countries. So, I mean, I hope my students work on these themes and deepen our understanding with time from the work that their predecessors like Nandini have started. It's cultural studies aspect. And they can focus on certain elements of that culture and develop into some research theme and work on it. It is very close to us geographically. Because if you look at the old great game, which was played between Russian Empire and the British Empire in the late 19th century and early part of 20th century, finally it was settled with one small area, the Wakhan corridor. The Wakhan corridor which is kept by the British deliberately to keep the Russian Empire away from British India. That small area was separated what was then, I mean, what is our Jammu and Kashmir in its entirety. It was just, they were touching. So this artificially division was created during the Great Game. We became distant. But today, with today's communication and transportation facilities, it is the shortest Central Asian country from Delhi. Shortest stations, maybe 1.5 hours, something like that. And we have no more flights. So let us